Emperor Nader Shah, the Shah of Persia and the founder of the Afsharid dynasty of Persia, invaded the Mughal Empire, eventually attacking Delhi in March 1739. His army had easily defeated the Mughals at the battle at Karnal and would eventually capture the Mughal capital in the aftermath of the battle. Nader Shah's victory against the weak and crumbling Mughal Empire in the Far East meant that he could afford to turn back and resume war against Persia's archrival, the neighbouring Ottoman Empire, but also the further campaigns in the North Caucasus and Central Asia. Invasion. Nader Shah became the Persian ruler in 1736. His troops captured Isfahan from the Safavid dynasty and founded the Afsharid dynasty in that year. In 1738, Nader Shah conquered Kandahar, the last outpost of the Hotaki dynasty in Afghanistan. He then began to launch raids across the Hindu Kush mountains into northern India, which at that time was under the rule of the Mughal Empire. As he moved into the Mughal territories, he was loyally accompanied by his Georgian subject and future king of Georgia, Ali Quli, who led a Georgian contingent as a military commander as part of Nader's force. The Mughal Empire had been weakened by ruinous wars of succession in the 3 decades following the death of Aurangzeb. The Hindu Marathas of the Maratha Empire had captured vast swathes of territory in central and northern India, whilst many of the Mughal nobles had asserted their independence and founded small states. Its ruler, Muhammad Shah, proved unable to stop the disintegration of the empire. The imperial court administration was corrupt and weak, whereas the country was extremely rich, whilst Delhi's prosperity and prestige was still at a high. Nader Shah, attracted by the country's wealth, sought plunder like so many other foreign invaders before him. Nader had asked Muhammad Shah to close the Mughal frontiers around Kabul so that the Afghan rebels he was fighting against may not seek refuge in Kabul. Even though the emperor agreed, he practically took no action. Nader seized upon this as a pretext for war, together with his Georgian subject Ali Quli, who took part in the expedition as a commander leading a contingent of Georgian troops. The long march had begun. He defeated his Afghan enemies fleeing into the Hindu Kush and also seized major cities such as Ghazni, Kabul and Peshawar before advancing onto the Punjab and capturing Lahore. Nader advanced to the river Indus before the end of year as the Mughals mustered their army against him. At the Battle of Karnal on the 24th of February 1739, Nader led his army to victory over the Mughals. Muhammad Shah surrendered and both entered Delhi together. The keys to the capital of Delhi were surrendered to Nader. He entered the city on the 20th of March 1739 and occupied Shah Jahan's imperial suite in the Red Fort. Coins were struck and prayers said in his name in the Jama Masjid and other Delhi mosques. The next day, the Shah held a great durbar in the capital. Massacre. The Afsharid occupation led to price rises in the city. The city administrator attempted to fix prices at a lower level and Afsharid troops were sent to the market at Paharganj, Delhi to enforce them. However, the local merchants refused to accept the lower prices and this resulted in violence during which some Afsharid troops were assaulted and killed. When a rumor spread that Nader had been assassinated by a female guard at the Red Fort, some Indians attacked and killed Afsharid troops during the riots that broke out on the night of the 21st of March. Nader, furious at the killings, retaliated by ordering his soldiers to carry out the notorious Qatl Arm of Delhi. On the morning of the 22nd of March, the Shah rode out in full armor and took a seat at the Sunara Masjid of Roshan-ud Dowla near the Kotwali Chabutar in the middle of Chandni Chowk. He then, to the accompaniment of the rolling of drums and the blaring of trumpets, unsheathed his great battle sword in hand, flourished to the great and loud acclaim and wild cheers of the Afsharid troops. troops present. This was the signal to start the onslaught and carnage. Almost immediately, the fully armed Afsharid army of occupation turned the swords and guns onto the unarmed and defenseless civilians in the city. The Afsharid soldiers were given full license to do as they pleased and promised a share of the booty as the city was plundered. Areas of Delhi such as Chandni Chowk and Dari Bakalan, Fatehpuri, Faiz Bazaar, Hauz Qazi, Johra Bazaar and the Lahori, Ajmeri and Kabuli gates, all of which were densely populated by both Hindus and Muslims, were soon covered with corpses. Muslims, like Hindus and Sikhs, resorted to killing the women, children and themselves rather than submit to the Afsharid soldiers. In the words of the Tazkira, here and there some opposition was offered, but in most places people were butchered unresistingly. The Persians laid violent hands on everything and everybody. For a long time, streets remained strewn with corpses, as the walks of a garden with dead leaves and flowers. The town was reduced to ashes. Muhammad Shah was forced to beg for mercy. These horrific events were recorded in contemporary chronicles such as the Tarikh-i-Hindi of Rustam Ali, the Bayan-e-Waqi of Abdul Karim and the Tazkira of Anand Ram Mukhlis. Finally, after many hours of desperate pleading by the Mughals for mercy, Nader Shah relented and signaled a halt to the bloodshed by sheathing his battle sword once again. Casualties. It has been estimated that during the course of 6 hours in one day, the 22nd of March 1739, something like 20,000 to 30,000 Indian men, women and children were slaughtered by the Afsharid troops during the massacre in the city. Exact casualty figures are uncertain, as after the massacre, the bodies of the victims were simply buried in mass burial pits or cremated in grand funeral pyres without any proper record being made of the numbers cremated or buried. Plunder. The city was sacked for several days. An enormous fine of 20 million rupees was levied on the people of Delhi. Muhammad Shah handed over the keys to the royal treasury, and lost the peacock throne to Nader Shah, which thereafter served as a symbol of Persian imperial might, amongst a treasure trove of other fabulous jewels. Nadir also gained the Koh-i-Noor and Darya-i-Noor diamonds. They are now part of the British and Iranian crown jewels, respectively. Afsharid troops left Delhi at the beginning of May 1739. Aftermath. The plunder seized from Delhi was so rich that Nadir stopped taxation in Persia for a period of 3 years following his return. Nader Shah's victory against the crumbling Mughal Empire in the east meant that he could afford to turn to the west and face the Ottomans. The Ottoman Sultan Mahmud I initiated the Ottoman-Persian War, in which Muhammad Shah closely cooperated with the Ottomans until his death in 1748. Nader's Indian campaign alerted as a far-off foreign invader, also the British East India Company, to the extreme weakness of the Mughal Empire and the possibility of expanding to fill the power vacuum.